welcome back to summer.
We're back. No kidding.
Yep.
It is a beautiful, sunny, going to be 70-degree day here in Chattanooga, Tennessee in December. It is outstanding. I love it. But I also found myself yesterday as I was sitting outside the football game. I was like, man, it is hot. I was like, man, it is hot out here right now. And it was like, it's 68 degrees. You know, like 3 months ago, that was like a cold snap. Stepping back out on a Friday. Welcome aboard, folks. It is December 3rd, 2021. Welcome aboard. This is the Crushing Iron Podcast. We're episode 535. It's a beautiful day. It's apparently been unseasonably warm for a lot of places. Because I've seen a lot of comments that it's been in like the 40s, 50s, and 60s. Had somebody remark in Training Peaks they were swimming in an outdoor pool this week. So yeah, awesome. Good for you. Not me. But hopefully you're getting out and enjoying this. And it did. It's like, man, it feels hot right now. And it's not. That's just how quick we get out of being, season shape, which is, 85, 90, 95, 100 degrees. And then we beg for the cold. And then when it's cold, then we have a 68 degrees sunny day. We're like, oh my God, here we go. Like, where's winter? Speaking of where are you? We are here in Chattanooga, Tennessee at the Hub. If it's your first time tuning in, welcome. We appreciate you giving us your time. We know your time is valuable. You have a lot of options in the triathlon podcast universe and just podcasts in general, and their time is valuable, so we appreciate you. We cover it all. We cover swim, bike, run, detailed podcasts. We do race recaps. We do race previews. Oftentimes we'll have on the occasional guest. But that's it. Mostly Mike and I as coaches, athletes, best friends, talk about our own experiences, what we're going through in life ourselves. We also work with a wide range of athletes from across the globe, from beginners to elite level amateurs. So it's easy for us as we go through Training Peaks day to day and week to week to kind of take the pulse of our community of athletes and our team to generate a topic for the day. And then we also have a awesome group on Facebook. You can search Crushing Iron Group if you want to be a part of that conversation. A lot of great people in there. We sometimes go in there and do a Q&A, but for the most part, we just kind of sit back, relax, and have a conversation. And hopefully that turns into something you can consume and apply to your own life, not in a cut and paste kind of way, but because we're not professionals, we're not experts, we've just been around. We've been around the block a few times and tripped and fell many times, but also made it across. And we try to share those experiences with you, so hopefully you can avoid them. And no sponsors, no ads, one agenda, and that's to keep you happy and healthy in your endurance sports journey.
Nicely done.
I give myself a 7 out of 10 on the open today.
But that's what you want.
That's right. It's right.
It's a little
Can't
high.
get too high. It is a little bit high. No, it's 6.8.
Down to
yes,
6.
Mellow it down.
Now, as you were saying that, we have had a lot of kind of new people coming into the podcast, I feel like, and we just kind of throw out. We're sitting here at the Hub, and I don't know if everybody knows exactly what that might be.
Have we had a lot of new people listen?
I just feel like,
I don't know because I have nothing to do with the podcast.
It's hard to tell. I can't read analytics and all that stuff. I'm opposed to analytics in my core. But I'm just throwing it out. I think we could probably explain that we actually have a full-on training center here with an endless pool, and we do swim analysis and bike fits and bike analysis and run testing and all that kind of stuff. And it's available for people to come in. I mean, we're kind of taking December off of that plan, but starting in January, we also have a 4-bedroom condo that sleeps 8 people, so you can bring your whole tri club.
It actually sleeps 11,
as
proof
11.
Yesterday. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, we had our, you bring up a great point, because yesterday my cousin, her boys, and some other people came in and stayed, and there was 11 of them, and they all had a bed, and they all slept comfortably in our townhome. But as you were saying that, I was trying to explain to people I ran into at the football game. They're like, so what do you do?
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't want to just be like, I'm just a personal trainer, just kind of because make it simple and sweet. But it is like we have an awesome training center here with an endless pool, all the bike equipment you need to do bike fit, bike testing, run form, hang out with Mike and I. We have a bunch of Normatec boots, a coffee lounge. And it really is. It's great. We love being, I was emailing a guy who was asking about it that we work with in Kentucky. And I said, the reason we opened it was to kind of bridge that gap between online coaching and quote unquote local coaching, which is, kind of a struggle, I think, for some people to do. But with local coaches, you're kind of, stuck with the one pond, and you only got to kind of deal with the fish you got in your own pond. And this is a way for us to connect with a lot of athletes from all over the globe. We work with athletes internationally, West Coast, East Coast, Canada, you name it, we work with them. But this provides us an opportunity to kind of get our hands on them, see them. And ultimately, while the fitting and the testing and the swim analysis is great, there really is no substitute for just sitting back, relax, and having a cup of coffee and really trying to, inherently getting to know someone and who they are. It helps you coach them better.
Yeah.
And I think that's why we did it. And I know that's your favorite part of it as well.
Yeah, it is. And we have had a lot of people come in, and I think that it is the community piece that we've tried to create. And I think, because people do connect from all over the place, and it's I think that's why a lot of people love to be coached with us or by us. And that's the other thing is we do coaching. So I just wanted to make sure everybody knew that we're just kind of having a podcast here. And, I did get a nice letter from...
You got a letter?
I got a nice letter in the mail.
Did you really handwritten letter?
I used my opener. But no, it was an email. From a nice woman in Australia. She said
from down under.
From down under. And she said that her and her friends are listening now. And they really love it. And they're I guess, I didn't say tolerating, but sort of insinuating. She's tolerating the football talk because they don't know anything about it. So I said, hey, maybe we'll try and work in some Australian rules football discussion. And I thought, well, maybe you could just start it.
Yeah, the All Blacks. That's all I know about rugby is All Black. The All Blacks.
No, it's not rugby. It's Australian rules football is what I'm thinking about.
Oh, I have no idea about anything that has to do with that.
Cheers. I think it's a real thing.
Did she end it with cheers?
Cheers. Hey.
That's like the big cheers, mate.
Yeah. Yeah, we used to watch that in college just for fun. We thought it was the goofiest, silliest thing ever. And the referees dress up in like white coats with these brimmed hats on and stuff. It's really fun. And we used to kind of, drink some beers and watch that and go, man, that's like the freakiest. I don't even know what's going on here, but we just watch it for hours. Anyway, so there you are, Australian rules football.
Here's to you, to our podcast listeners across the pond who also email and they're like, you know what? It's not our off season. It's warm, it's hot. And they're like, come on, like you reference something that's, important for us, which it's not our off season either. Like as we post our race roster this week, and we'll get on the podcast here shortly so you can stop frowning, is we got, Clash Daytona, which happens on Sunday. I refuse to call it. You have Challenge Daytona happening on Sunday. We have the California Marathon. You got Indian Wells. It's a busy weekend. It's a happening weekend, and I hope everybody has fun and races well. I know we've kind of been veering towards the off-season talk and the end of the year stuff, and while it's applicable for probably 95% of the athletes, we do recognize a lot of you are still out there, getting after it, and this is that last weekend before everybody kind of mails it in till January. But I wanted to mention something quickly just because it was a huge throwback when you mentioned letters. Mm-hmm. And yesterday, and you'll remember this, no one else really, except for maybe like 2 or 3 people on this podcast, but yesterday, Elise Gallegos texted me, who's been a friend of our podcast and an athlete I worked with a long time ago. She emailed me this PDF, and she was cleaning out her closet and doing some like apparently deep cleaning. And she stumbled across a 10-page note that I had sent on December 26th, the day after Christmas, December 26th, 2013. I was about 35 days into the ranch. And when I went to back then, so it was 8 years ago, or just under 8 years ago, when I went to get treatment to get sober. And I had coached before that, and I was still coaching in there. And I basically would write on a notepad a workout key of swims and runs and rides, and list them all out, and then send like a sheet with S1, B3, R5, and that was the workout you had to do for the day, Monday through Sunday. I was still doing that while I was in there and mailing them out for people that wanted them. And it was cool to read. It's sometimes I forget how long I've been doing it, but that was a piece of while I was in there and kind of disconnected from the world. It was obviously going through as much as as I was going through still there. It was obviously coaching and doing what I do was still like something that kind of carried me through, and something that I was still so devoted and loving to do. But I was like, man, that is so, and quit being a hoarder. I mean, you should have thrown those away like a long time ago. Like, clean the rest of your house out too if you still have those from 8 years ago.
That's probably worth some money now.
It's definitely not. But it's funny though, because I want to find a way to post them to our active athlete group, because a lot of the workouts that I wrote in there are still workouts that athletes see today in Training Peaks. When I written them out in swimmer, she was like, if you gave me this swim workout now, I'd kill you. But it also like it meshed well with the topic that I have for today, which was yesterday I went to watch my high school alma mater play the state championship game, took Hayden out of school. They have like an NFL court, like Trent Dilfer's their head coach now. And I was watching it, and I haven't been back to a high school football game in forever. And the first thing that I thought of watching, like the first half kind of go by was, and it's, we're always kind of thinking of like analogies of life and triathlon and how we can, weave that into the podcast. And it was why we've become so obsessed with complexity over consistency. And we talked about this before, is like our team ended up winning like 27-0. We were totally like, had the better athletes, the better players, better coaching, but I just couldn't get over how absolutely complex that our team was trying to make every single play, like running hurry up offense and movement. And then there was like a ton of offsides and whatever. And I was like, we have the best players. Like, back in, like I was telling you before the cast, like back in our day, you had the best players. You just ran the ball every single time. And they could have done that every single time. And you're thinking like high school kids, just make it as easy. Make it easy to understand. Make it fun. And they're going to be able to execute, because no matter how complex you get and how great the play might be, if the people you have that are supposed to execute it, 11 of them, 11 16-year-old boys, that if you can't get them all to execute at the same time, it doesn't matter how complex it is. It's going to be useless, right? It's going to.
You got one kid running the other way, right into the quarterback, and the whole play goes.
Exactly. You got a holding call, or the quarterback trips, and I just couldn't help but think of like how simplistic things, you see back in the day, but how oftentimes you see that with training is that athletes who are struggling, and this is kind of the topic of the day, is consistency before complexity. It is kind of the theme of today's, what I want to focus on, especially as athletes are trying to get into a groove, or at least stay in the groove, which is part of our weekly tip we had on Instagram that was more about, taking this time of year off, quote unquote, from swim, bike, run training, but still dedicating and keeping that behavior pattern of committing to doing something every day. It doesn't have to be triathlon related, but once you start to want to plug in swim, bike, run stuff specifically or only, it'll be a lot easier to pick that piece up when you've been consistently active, or you're at least taking 30 to 45 minutes out of your day to do something for yourself. It could be walking your dog, playing pickup again, basketball, ultimate frisbee, round of golf, going on a hike, whatever it is, you're being active. But that what I oftentimes see is, as a coach, and this is something you and I talk about a lot in the podcast and then offline, is that training should be simple. It's like, and I can't, and this is a time of year where I think athletes very much appreciate reading their Training Peaks and hearing and seeing, okay, 4-minute easy run. That's it. That's all I have to do, right? Because when you're staying in a groove, you look for simplicity in order to be consistent. What you don't want to do, in my opinion, what I wouldn't want to look at as an athlete, and you see it especially with cycling workouts, because those can sometimes be the most complex with the most moving parts. Same thing with swimming. Is a lot of times you'll read when an athlete has had a really, really long day, they think, I couldn't do the intervals. I couldn't focus. I just wanted to ride easy for a bit. And if you're an athlete who's struggling with being consistent or trying to find your groove back, forget the complexity. Remove it, even though it's what most people gravitate towards too. It's like, I need something exciting to wake me up. Like, I don't need the 6 to 8 hour a week prep plan to get me ready. I need the 20-hour week, because that's really going to galvanize me and excite me. And the more complex, I need workouts that are really specific and really intuitive. And I need every single second dialed in for me. I'm like, no, you don't, because life is like that already. You can't tell me that getting off of waking up in the early morning and heading out for a run in the dark, do you want to look at your watch every 2 seconds? No, you just want to run and breathe in the cold air and feel alive. Same thing goes with getting out of your workday and coming home, and you're like, I got to get my run shoes on. And you pull up your workout, and it's like, all right, 5 minutes at 8:40 pace. Then I want 9 pickups at 7:24 pace. And then I want, 10 minutes steady at 9:20 pace. And you're like, what? Like, I don't want to think that much. I just want to run. And what happens is people get so overwhelmed because life is so overwhelming already, they end up not doing it or not doing the intended workout. Keep things simple. The complexity should be more geared towards the icing on the cake than the cake. Cake should be all about consistency and simplicity.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I didn't know that was coming, but yeah, I think
sorry.
it's okay.
We skipped our pre-show meeting today.
I do agree. I was listening to this interview with, I'm checking this, and they were talking about how, like diets and training and workouts, whatever, and we get like into, like they were talking about guilt and shame. Like when you get drawn toward, like if you're trying to give up sugar, there's actually a mechanism that in your brain that makes you feel guilty and makes you go towards it. And then if you can get away from it, like, so what happens is I think you have equal guilt about missing a workout or something. And then that becomes I need more complexity, or I need more intervals. I need more stuff that's going to make, it's
make
like
up for it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, it's a weird thing, because I think that's why a lot of diets fail a lot of times, because, we end up going like, we try to be so tough, and then it's like, we screw it up, and then we come back in like 10 times harder. And we're going, all right, and I'm not, that wasn't enough.
So I'm going to starve myself longer next
time.
Right,
all this kind of stuff. And I think about like the game you went to or whatever, and it would be, I think, the coach is probably like, we're going to run this cool West Coast offensive spread or whatever's going on. And it gets everybody kind of excited about it. But then, nobody's really coming to my offense, and we're going to run over center and off tackle all game. That's all we're going to do.
Like, I don't want to do that.
The only people want to do is a lineman.
Right,
they want to just.
And the running back.
Yeah, and the running back. But I think that's what it is. It just becomes this sort of shiny object out there when we try to, sometimes when we get athletes, they bring in new training plans along with them. Of course, you've seen that. And sometimes I look at them, I'm like, whoa.
It looks like the effing Matrix. Like I look at it, I'm like, what? I don't even understand what's going on here, or the terminology.
Many things and wording and like.
But it's how, like, listen, we've laughed at this before when talking about, all right, what's it going to take for me to do, this, and you're like, years. And that's like the worst sales pitch ever, because most of your training should be simple, consistent, and that's all it's about. Simple, consistent, hard work is how you get better. But that's not, you can't sell that. It's everything you sell nowadays is, all right, 3 days and 4 days a week of 8-minute workouts, and that's going to get you the way there. And there's all high intensity, Tabata style things, and like, this will get you here. And it will get you faster for about 4 weeks until you flatline and burn out. And there are so many studies, I'm gonna go over this on our Zoom call in 2 weeks, that just keep reinforcing how polarized training is always and will forever be the best type of training, which is 80% of it or more is just easy, consistent work about getting in volume, sprinkled with a little bit of threshold here and a little bit of tempo and hill work here. And there you have it, folks. Like it's keeping it simple. And the more simple you can keep it, the more likely you are to continue to do it. Like if you go shopping in the store and you see two TV stands put together, and one has, and it's also considered cheap, right? People say, it must be cheap. Something must be wrong with it. It's too good to be true. And you see a TV stand has 14 different steps, and it's put together time, 40 minutes, price tag $9.99. You're like, that's got to be worth it. It's got to be worth it. It's the best TV stand. Exact same TV stand next to it, and it's like put together, already put together minus the legs, cost, $40. Like, it's probably not good. It's probably low budget. It's probably not going to do the job. It's going to do the job. It's like, but we look for things. And I think that's part of the need that we've all, as a society, we have become to crave entertainment and excitement as things, as a drug, really, of what we need to get ourselves going. We need a race on the calendar. We need to be put under the gun. We need, to feel pressure. We need things to be exciting and what I call, inter-training instead of entertainment. It's inter-training. It's like, and I have this conversation a lot. It's like, you don't need a different workout every single time you go out there. You just, because when I hear that, all I hear is it's because it doesn't make you better. What you want to do is just be entertained, or what you want to do is, keep your level of attention span, which is also important. But there are a lot of athletes who do the same exact workout all the time. And you know what you do? You still get better. It's about being consistent. And I think when you wrap your brain around, because honestly, consistency is the number one thing that impedes athletes' progress of reaching their goals and their ultimate performance. Consistency isn't aided by making things complex. Consistency is best left alone when you can make things as simple as possible. Run this many days a week and keep it, 35, 40 minutes, all easy. Add in a few rides. We'll do a few swims that are focused. Do this. That's it. That's all we ask. Be consistent. It's not, all right, I need to get my workout key and I need to put on my 3D glasses and I need to read through the training. And I'm like, what is it? Like, we joked about it a minute ago. It's like, sometimes I read all of the terminology for just a run, and I'm like, I'm lost. I'm done. Like, that was more stressful than doing the run itself. Mm-hmm. So if you're thinking about making habits or keeping habits and trying to get to a place to where you can be successful throughout the year, which again is being consistent, make it simple. Like, simple, stupid. It's like, everybody's heard that quote a million times over. Keep it simple, because it allows you the best opportunity to do it right. And that is the biggest thing that we also drive home when you talk about giving athletes repeat workouts, is most athletes crave that because they want to do workouts correctly, right? It's like they don't want to go through a revolving door every Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday of workouts they've never heard of, because it adds stress. They got to figure it out. I wonder if I'm doing this right. What's this mean again? I wonder how this is going to feel. Give things to them that they can do repetitively, and they start to become better apt to do them, not perfectly, but as perfect as they can, which again elicits the best response. They're more bought in. They feel more confident doing them. It's not like you're trying to surprise an athlete with this great workout, all the time. Yeah, it becomes sort of natural, right? And that takes away pressure, because if you're thinking about that's what I always try to get athletes to do, is not think about what they're doing. So if you're always trying to think about stuff, and I notice this because I normally train alone or run alone, and even when, at run camp, I kind of like because for me it's just hard to have conversation and keep an eye on the gravel and do like all these sorts of things. And I went out running yesterday with David Geyer, and I noticed how much different it is when you're trying to have a conversation. It sort of, I had two thoughts about it. One, I was like, man, I think this is good, because it's sort of, it makes you practice kind of keeping in your breath and all that other stuff while you're talking and thinking about stuff. But on the other hand, I just sort of like to run and just be free with it, and not have to worry. It's sort of my time to just let my brain calm down and breathe and all that sort of stuff. And I tell all my athletes, if it's a 30-minute easy run or whatever, that doesn't have to be exactly the same every time. I mean, one of the biggest things, and I think it's almost the biggest thing in this training, is the negative split mentality, for example. So like if you're going out easy and you can finish just a little bit harder than easy, like without disrupting any plan or anything you got going, or like a lot of things I like to say, hey, you get that 20-minute mark, go find a hill or something and just run up. If you feel good, just throw some hills in and bust a hill. It's an easy run, but you can kind of, craft it in the way you want. It doesn't have to be just some boring, because we always hear that, right? I keep running, so I don't think I'm getting faster enough. That whole mentality is like, I just feel like now I'm slower than I ever have been, or whatever. And my thinking is always, even if it's a just swim or something, go swim, but push a little bit at some point, because my thought is on that is like, when you get warmed up and you're 20 minutes into a workout, a swim or a bike or a run or anything, you have more room on the top end because your blood's flowing, everything's good. It's different than coming out hot, because then your body has to adjust. But if you're warmed up, you're feeling good, you got that little lather going, when you push a little bit, I don't think it's as impactful in a negative way. I think it's a good thing, right? It's like the strides or pickups and things like that I'm a huge fan of that stuff, because especially if you're out there and you're in the middle of your workout and you're feeling damn good, and just and inch it up through, like we talk about, low zone 2, mid zone 2, high zone 2, like, play in there a little bit more, right? And I think that can be the excitement, is what I'm getting at. It sounds very boring to think about raising your heart rate like 2 beats or something, or whatever, it's just hypothetically, but there's, to me, the workout repetition of workouts and the ability to sort of gauge yourself against the one maybe a month ago, and you've done one a week for a month. I think those things are good, and I do hate it when but when people get bored with, I love the same workouts. I used to do the same run almost every day, but depending on what my objective was, I would handle it differently, Like I might, walk up a hill one workout, and then the next time I go out that same route, I might go after that hill and do repeats on it or whatever. Anyway, the excitement doesn't have to be, so extreme, I guess. But that's what we do, right? We go to the extremes. Like I was on the phone with an athlete before I came in here this morning, and they were talking about, which is another great topic. It's like her goals for next year was to run fast and run stronger. And I said, well, and I kind of stopped her and I said, all right, first, I said, always remember, in order to run fast, you also must run strong. Run strong comes before running fast, because if you want to run fast for a long period of time, you have to be strong. Mm-hmm. And she said, well, what does that entail? What does that mean? I said, a lot of athletes gets very lazy with, and there's a difference between being simple and lazy, right? A lot of athletes do stick with the same flat route every single day, every single time, and don't work, other muscles, ligaments, and tendons, especially in their lower limbs, than we should, to help keep us more injury-free, which is something that I can't suggest enough this time of year. It's to get out and run something different than your usual route. Run the hilly rolling course. Run on trails. Run on pea gravel. Run on dirt. Single track. Run on something different, right? But what happens is most athletes get because again, we'll go back to here. I feel like I'm getting slower. Most athletes can't look past their workout. They can't look at the whole picture. They just look at the day, the workout, the session, the 5-minute part of their interval that they didn't do well at. And they think, oh, I'm just getting slower. As a coach, I never look at a rested interval workout as, oh, look, this is working. What I look at are the 40-minute easy runs. What I look at, because they become efficient, they become effortless. Which is a great, I commented a few times this morning already training because I'm like, effortless? That's exactly what I want to hear as a coach, that this run was effortless, right? That's improvement, right? It's not, I want you to feel crushed and destroyed. No, it should feel effortless, because that's what easy runs should feel, because that's called aerobic efficiency, durability, and great running economy. If your run feels effortless, that's a absolutely outstanding thing. If it doesn't feel effortless, maybe you're overextending. But what I look at, and what we always look at, is your long run off on tired legs. I felt incredible. I can't believe how fast I recovered. All right, things are working. It's never the highlight reel workouts you expect to be spectacular. Oh, Johnny feels great today, and we're making great strides. Well, Johnny also took the last 3 days off, so no wonder his legs are fresh.
Mm-hmm.
But it tests it out. But run on something different. But anyway, going back to the extremism as most athletes do, it's it's only A and it's only Z. There's no such thing as letters in between. It's A and Z. And so I said, add in. I said, where do you live? Because they live in Nashville. I live over in North Nashville. So they got Shelby Bottoms, and it's all flat. Maybe I'll head to Percy Warner. I said, whoa. I said, what? I said, if you're not familiar, I've been to camp. Percy Warner is this awesome park in Nashville, but there's only a few stretches of it that are what I would consider good, repeatable running, slow, steady inclines. The rest of it is just straight up or straight down. There's no happy medium outside the first mile, depending on what direction you go. And I said, let's not do that. I said, you're close to downtown, head to one of the bridges, because those are about the perfect incline. They're runnable. You can keep the same run form. You can practice your running economy. Again, you can run the whole thing. Let's crawl and then walk before we try to run. Most athletes I just came out of the womb, let's sprint. And they wonder why things can go awry, and they get injured, they get hurt. It's about, hurry slowly, as we always say. But everyone likes to go to the extreme. More, faster, more intense. That's the way to go. And they wonder why it's not something that's repeatable, right? Over and over and over and over and over again. And so you have to rein things in. And again, going back to allowing yourself, and that's something that I think every person should, recognize about themselves. All right, what allows me to be the best version of myself? And that's a question we get a lot of time as coaches. All right, how many hours makes a successful, 70.3 athlete or Olympic athlete or sprint athlete or Ironman athlete, whatever it is? It's not the amount of hours you're prescribed. It's the amount of hours that you do. And that is something where most athletes, they feel stronger and faster, and that they're taking things to the next level, when they buy, the elite super advanced, training plan on Training Peaks that has a peak phase of 14 to 18 hours. If you ain't doing those 14 to 18 hours and you're only doing 8 to 10, it's still not, you're only making part of the dish you bought. And it's going to be an unfinished dish, because the progressions aren't going to be the same. The adaptation's not going to be the same. It's all supposed to be connected. So to give you like an analogy, it's like, you know, you walk into a cooking class and the guy's you're not going to have like, you know, Gordon Ramsay, like a Michelin star chef, like, all right, today in your first session, you know, we're going to make, you know, lobster ravioli with, you know, creamy risotto, you know, and we're going to do it in 30 minutes. You're like, no, I can't do that. And what's going to happen is you're going to put on Instagram. You're like, you know, I'm making, guess what I'm making today? I'm going to make it rush, making 30 minutes. And then you taste it and it's going to taste like shit. You want to know why? Because you were rushed. You had no idea what you were doing, and it was way too complex for you to get it right. But it was this fancy thing, it's a great thing. It's going to taste like crap, okay? What you would have been better off doing is probably knocking out some Easy Mac and, you know, grilling out some chicken. That you could have knocked out of the park and have been great, but that's the difference.
Just add a spice.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Like, that's what I mean when I say add a little bit to your
add a little bit of kick, you know? And it's just like, we try to go so overboard because we get enamored with the sauce, right? We get enamored with the things that, you know, look spectacular and feel spectacular and make us feel spectacular for a moment. But then it comes down to, can I even execute this? Like, now I'm overwhelmed and now I'm going to do it. And maybe it's going to taste good. So instead of making a really good dish, like we always talk about, you know, great is the enemy of good. And that is something that every athlete should remind themselves of every single morning, is that great is the enemy of good. Because really all you need to do is to be just good or pretty good every day. When your ego gets in the way, when your self-confidence is low, when you try to go for great, you end up shooting too high and falling short. Or you shoot too high and go too hard, and it ruins the next 3 or 4 days, and you get burnt out or you get hurt. Stop being keep it simple, right? It's like, and so instead of like signing up for like the elite level Michelin star advanced cooking class, you go to one that's like, right, you're going to learn how to cook the perfect ribeye in the cast iron with a side of mashed potatoes. Sign me up every night of the week. I'm in. Like something you can do, something that's attainable, something you can wrap your brain around and actually do. And then you know what, when you're done, you're not going to feel dumb. You're not going to feel inadequate. You're not going to feel like you didn't do very well, that you wasted your money. You're going to feel empowered. You're going to gain knowledge. You're going to be a part of the process, and you're going to be able to actually probably repeat it at home as close as you possibly can. It's not going to be with, 17 different kitchen utensils you've never heard of or seen in your entire life. You don't know how to wrap this. You can only do it with, you should be empowered to do it. And that's so much like training, is that just try to be good. It's like, just don't shoot for taking 3 hours off your Ironman, time next year. Just focus on maybe being a little bit more consistent than you were the previous year, and that'll add up. Don't go from a 10-hour week to an 18-hour week, because it's still the amount of hours you commit by doing yourself, whether you're a self-coach, you buy a training plan, they don't matter. They don't matter if you can do them. And that's why when you look at, the amount of training some people put in versus something they don't put in, it's about doing it right. And it's about putting it all together in the best possible deliverable and consumable way for the athletes so they can execute it on race day. It's not about the fluff and making it fancy and making it so complex.
Mm-hmm. When you talk about effortless as a, Training Peaks comment, that just felt effortless. It's hard for people to wrap their head around that as a tangible gain. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's almost like, I had dozens of people finish Ironman this year, and I'd always text the next day or two and say, hey, how you feeling? They're going, I feel kind of good, or I feel surprisingly not sore, or I feel like, of course it's going to beat you down and fatigue you mentally and deep kind of physical fatigue. But I think that's an amazing thing if you think about it. Whenever I get up after an Ironman, the next day I'm limping a little bit, and then the next day I'm kind of like, okay. That's a pretty big deal, that you can go out and do 140.6 miles
and not be destroyed.
But we can't accept that. That's the biggest piece, right? But it's hard to accept that, you went out and you ran 40 minutes and you just really didn't even feel like you did anything. And I don't know at what point that became not a good thing, or we want to see the speed. We just want to chart it or something. It's like, it's like we got to go see that speed that we had when we were in high school, or just once or whatever. But it has really nothing to do with what we're doing on the big picture. which is trying to make you a strong, fast, efficient race runner in a triathlon, at the end of a lot of, work. And we get caught up in the things I think that don't matter. I think that's what happens a lot with, like we were talking about football or whatever. It's just, our team's exciting. I'm like, yeah, but do they win?
Yeah.
They don't win. Like the boring teams that just sort of stay to the plan and stick with it end up winning in the end, because that first half and the hype and everything's all the attention and they're fired up and everything. And we talked about in third quarter, end of third quarter, they start getting wiped out. Their adrenals probably go to hell, because they're so jacked and now they can't even keep up with anything and they're just getting their, handed to them. So it's this weird thing about accepting, the mundane or something, or accepting improvement that's hard to recognize,
The improvement as an athlete, and these are what I look for the most as a coach to determine how things are going with an athlete in their own terminology and their own comments, is things like, I felt so much better today than I thought I would. Perfect. Like the load is great. You've adapted well to the training, which probably means we can increase the load just a little bit. Again, not a lot, not a lot, just a little bit, just another inch, right? The second one is something like, man, I ran this hill that I usually run today, and it felt so much easier than it has in the past. Cha-ching. Like,
to notice that stuff is important.
Like that is the ticket right there. Like if you have those kind of aha moments, then you are on the right track. Third one, like we said before, that just felt effortless. Like it just felt really, really good. All right, now we know they're probably having, and you can look at the data to confirm it's like they're becoming really, really aerobically efficient. All right, what have we been doing? How is that working? The load's also good. Like those are all cues that things are working really, really well together. Number 4, I really had fun today. A huge one. While most athletes say, oh, well, that's not, where's the data? How do you know? I'm like, listen, if you're having fun,
there's some people out there just, there they go on
the data. There they go again. What do you talk about data? It's like, throwing a chunk of change and, we'll see. It's because if you're having fun, you know what you're going to do? More of it, enough of it, most of it. It's you're in a good spot mentally and emotionally. The athlete is. I'm like, just ride that train, baby. Like just ride like an athlete earlier today. Man, I've been hitting the gravel bike right now, and I'm just loving it. All my comment, my comment wasn't, well, John, that middle section there where you should have been around 120, watts, you were around 118. We really need to keep that raised so we can keep your FTP level the same that we have had it and increase threshold for the next few months. You know what I said? Then get out and ride your bike however much you effing want to. Like, because that's what it should be. That's exactly how it should be, because when you can do more, you're going to get better, you're going to get faster. Those are like some of the biggest, or when people light it up, like you say, like we all do. Like, I love the end of workout pickups, 30-second, 45-second, same on the bike, some accelerations of pops. What I love is seeing like, man, I didn't know I had that in me.
Yeah,
it's that phrase of like, I didn't know I had that in me versus I went for broke today and this is what happened. Like it's kind of like a vision into the future of what you have in you and what you're building, but just not quite ready to use it yet, because I'm going to trust the process. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. And you can see all that. Like a lot of times I'll kind of ask, like, for all you data guys and data girls, you can look at the heart rate and look at the pace and you can see, oh, you felt good today. Like I comment today on an athlete's workout, because when you work with athletes, is for most of you and I, like for as long as we have, you can kind of click on a run and we don't expect it, but we kind of generally know where their pace is going to fall, where the heart rate's going to fall, and if heart rate's up or her paces, or slower, you're like, hey, what's going on? Make sure everything's cool. And sometimes like, nah, I feel like crap today. And sometimes like, yeah, I ran with my wife or my husband. They're a little bit slower, but I had a great time. But this afternoon, this morning, it was like a very, very quick pace and a very, very quick, or in a very low heart rate, which is usually a really, really good thing. And I was like, man, looking saucy today. It's like, that's the kind of little things you look for. It's overall consistency and getting better weeks and months at a time, because that's lasting improvement. It's not improvement's going to be removed once a day, but I love what you said too about when did we get so when we become to just not appreciate the ability that we have to feel like we can go run for, you know how many people would die to go run for 40, like would be like, we're so jealous you can go run for 40 minutes in general and feel effortless and energized when you get done. 90% of the population on the planet Earth, right? And that is like, because going back to the effortless and kind of feeling of runs or rides or swimming, it's like, that is when you know when you're in a great spot with your training, is that because for 95% of no matter what race you're going to do, it's still aerobic. It's still aerobic capacity, because that's the majority of your capacity, not anaerobic capacity. It's still the icing. It's still the last little bit. The majority of what you're working from is aerobic capacity, which is also why like polarized training and stuff like that works, is building your aerobic engine, also complements everything else. It's about being aerobically efficient. And you can always tell that. Like I can, that's why also like running some of the same routes is really, really fun and awesome, because you're like, man, I got to this point a lot quicker than I thought I did. Like this used to be my 40-minute run route, and now it's taking me 37 minutes. Hello. Like that's a good thing, you know, same with your riding or they're producing more power. It's like, you know, like maybe my power memory is off today because it's maybe a little bit low. And you're like, no, you're just kind of getting faster because it felt easier. You know, these are all small good things. The smaller the improvement, in my opinion, the more confident you should be that that's going to stick. Okay. The more gigantic or great of an improvement you think you might see or that you want, the chances are that they might not last. You know, they very well might, but it's the small incremental ones. It's just about getting a little bit better every single day. And then also comes down to just making good decisions, right? And not getting caught up in that good to great mentality that, basically every single triathlete gets themselves into is, yeah, it was good today, but it wasn't my best. You know, it's like my least favorite comment to read in Training Peaks is, yeah, you know, today was pretty good. Definitely not my best. And I'm like, and I've said this before a million times, like, yeah, I know, because you have one. You literally have one best and one worst. The rest of them just fall in the middle. Like, and stop saying that. Like, it just, today was a good workout, period, done, end of story, bye, get on with your day. Not, today was good, but, you know, it's like the but today race. But I PR by 35 minutes, but pretty sure I could have picked it up some in the swim and, you know, saved myself, 22 seconds.
You know, nature is perfect, right?
Is it?
Well, yeah, I think so. I mean,
it is today, at least. Like, I know that. Plants or trees, they grow at their own pace. Right.
You know, they're not affected, you know, maybe drugs or whatever they put in chemicals now. But I think that patience is such a lost art. And frankly, it's very difficult these days. I mean, it is the quickening and everything. You know, we live on this block where they're building these condos. And I think when you think of, what's the first thing people always say? I can't believe how fast they built that, or whatever. And it's kind of that point, right? But if you think about the analogy of building a house, like most of the stuff that you don't see is the important stuff. And they're putting in the plumbing, or they're doing the wiring, and they're making sure the foundation is, you know, all these things that aren't like, you know, like indicators that this thing's going up fast or whatever. It's like sort of like the paint and the windows and everything and the roofing, the stuff you can see, but it's like we're not patient with our workouts, and we expect things to, you know, just be, we expect to be at certain levels so quickly. But like, I think a lot of times, even when they build these type of things, they're just like, let's just, you know, figure out a system and just put this thing up. And then all of a sudden you're overworking employees. And the next thing is that, you know, they call in sick for a week, and then everything's kind of half rushed and half jacked and the whole thing. And I think that's kind of a good way to look at training too, is this, I like what you said there about, you know, look for small improvements. And I think we can't do that anymore. It's very difficult because of the nature of, like, you know, how fast people are becoming millionaires and all these types of things. And we never, you know, it should be here today, not, you know, the delivery, same day delivery. Come on.
Same day delivery.
You know, it's usually wrong size or something.
Like,
screwed
where
up.
is it?
Yeah. Like, where is it, man? I just ordered it this morning. But, you know, like, for real.
I hate that.
I also heard another quote this morning that was really good. I thought that, and I think this is important because this is really ultimately what we want out of the sport. I think is that I have this saying, my goal is to feel younger as I get older, and you know, obviously that at some point I think that's going to backfire on me, but I heard a quote that really applies to that, and it says, "We age because our repair systems become complacent." And I just thought that was so powerful, man, because it is. It's sort of like, and if you're not in the game, you're complacent, right? So when we talk about how we like to train and how we like our athletes to train, it's at a patient clip that can strain, and stress the elements a little bit, and then we can repair it. And I think that's ultimately maybe the secret to youth, is that our body doesn't stop working to fix itself. And in order to do that, we have to be in the game, right? And so that's where, the 80% of easy comes, I think. And ultimately it comes back to your original point of consistency. Just stay in there, keep repairing the body. And, that's
can I mean, this is going to make people so mad. Can we stop using age as an excuse? We do it all the time. About when it's convenient, we do it all the time. Well, I know I'm not going to get faster because I'm this old. Listen, if you just got on a rant, if you just got into this sport,
to turn you up a
and especially if you haven't been, no offense, but if you haven't been doing it right, and all you've been doing, doesn't matter if you're 30, 35, 45, 55, whatever it is, if you've been in this world for 5 years, okay, and you're getting older, you're 5 years old now, if all you've been doing is doing it wrong, then hell no, your best times aren't behind you, because now it's time to do it right. Like, it's not so much about, yes, is there a point at where you're going to have to work harder to be faster? 100%. But it's also about doing it right. Like you said, like your body gets, like the repair process is slowing down. You basically just get lazy with it, in terms of like the things you have to do. And that's what, and maximizes your aging, is you just get lazy with, taking care of your body, and exercising and doing things. You just sit on your ass all the time. There is like, you absolutely can get faster as you get older. It might not be, you might have to work harder to do it. You might not see, a 5-minute gain. You might see a 20-second gain. But isn't that the point of the thing, is to get better and to get faster? You absolutely, unquestionably can be faster as you get older, especially if, like I said, if you've been doing it wrong. For 5 years, or you spent, you're 60 years old and you're just getting into the sport, which isn't too late. You're like, I know I can't get faster as I get older. Hell yeah, you can. You're new to the sport. You probably haven't developed the way you have. Let's say you've only been training like 5 to 6 hours a week, because that's all you could do, because the workouts are too hard and you're overtrained, you're hurting yourself, you're feeling too stiff all the time. Then you start to find a way, you're like, oh, well, he's got appropriate programming. I'm doing like 8 to 10 hours a week, 12 hours, and become more aerobically efficient, more durable, and faster. Holy hell, I am able to be faster. 2 years going from 60 to 62. We see it all the time with athletes. It is unquestioned. You 100% can get faster as you get older. But I swear to you, if you've adopted the excuse of, I know I'm never going to get faster because I'm getting older, then you're not, because that's always going to be your excuse. My opinion and my suggestion to you is refuse to believe it. Like you do. You refuse to believe it. What's wrong with that? Refusing to believe you still have it in you to be. It's a whole lot better way to live than to be, what? I know I'm never going to get faster, so what the hell am I doing this for anyway? Refuse. I refuse to believe my best day. I'm 100% confident too that my best days are still in front of me without a doubt. Have that mentality versus
the battle right there.
Versus the freaking woe is me. I know I'm getting too old, or I'm not this. I'm like, get off your woe is me horse and get back to fucking work.
Yeah, well, you hit on
but coach, I've been doing this. Shut up and get back to work.
You definitely hit on my mantra, and I live in that space where any given day, if I have a day that it's like, hey, all right, I think that's what I lock in constantly. It's just like, if you have it in you one moment or one day, something that reminds you of how you used to feel, you still have it. It's just a matter of getting there again more consistently. And that's, I do, whether I'm tricking myself or whatever, I'm always about that. I was like, I know that, I haven't figured it out yet, but I'm not going to get older. And I'm going to get older, but
yeah, you've already gotten older since you said that. Yeah, it's like
now that I say that, I got really
you're going
tired.
To age. You don't have to feel older.
No, but I think a lot of that is mental gymnastics, or at least consistently, not believing it. You don't have to. I mean,
Tom Brady.
We get we get flooded with. I mean, think about it. You know, I've got how many people I know have just gone to see the Stones, and Mick Jagger's like 78 years old.
That's right.
He's elite. I mean, how absurd would that have been when we were kids? Mm-hmm. You know, the bands when they would be 25, they'd be like, "Oh, these old codgers are still out there, or whatever." You know,
when are they going to hang it up?
Yeah, and now all of a sudden, it's no big deal. It's like that to me is the mental shift that's collective, and I think that we need to, share that, and I think we do. I think most of it. I mean, a lot of people in triathlon. I mean, you would think about when I was growing up. My grandpa was going to do an Ironman, and he's in his 50s. That seems so ridiculous.
Seems insane. Act old, be old, and you are old.
Yeah.
But if you refuse to do those things, you sure as hell won't feel it. Mm-hmm. Like that is one of the things. Like my Mimi, she's 94, still drives. Most of the time, it's fine. But still drive. She's still super active because she has refused to act old. She has refused to give up on the things in life that you say you're not supposed to do because you're getting older. You need to do this. She's like, no, I'm living my life. So whether you're getting faster or stronger or not, it's the mentality of it that can carry you and at least make you a hell of a lot more happier, right? Than to be, than to just basically know that you feel like you're already in the downside of your life, right? The downside of everything. Oh, it's just this. And it's sad, right? It's very sad. Refuse to believe that because seriously, nothing bad is going to happen for that. Like literally nothing bad. Refusing to and just act and you're like, oh, they're so great. They don't act their age at all. You know what they also look like? Happy and healthy, right? That's exactly how they look.
Yeah.
They look happy and healthy when they're like, you're how old? You, for example, we can go out to dinner and sometimes they think I'm older than Mike is. They're like, how old is he? And then when I tell them, they're like, no effing way. Because you don't act. I mean, for one, I act older than you do in a lot of areas in life. But that's been part of it, right? Is it I think you and I have both mentioned this before. Even like, I'm in my early 40s, you're in your 50s ish. And, like I can go back and look at like, guys that I went to high school with and I'm like, God, I hope I don't look that old, and I know you have the same thought process when you see people that are the same. You're like, get to living, right? Stop accepting that you're dying and you're getting older, but get to living and enjoy it and just take the bull by the horns.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's, I think, so many things are stacked against that philosophy, grow up, mature, be whatever. Yeah. And my thing is always like, I just want to feel younger and be more kid-like because why not? Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean you have to be completely irresponsible or anything like that, but you can, it's like, if you feel like, it's like dancing or something, you just feel like dancing around or goofing, feeling like moving and flowing with whatever. Oh, look at it. It's so silly.
Yeah, that's right.
But it's like,
when is he going to grow
up? That's an
up?
indicator of good feeling good. And we try to suppress that so often and kind of keep it down in the name of, maturity and whatever. And I obviously we know a lot of people that act ridiculously young for their age.
For sure.
Super immature.
Yeah, in a great way.
In a great way.
In a great way. You're like, God, I love
immature,
you.
Man.
They're fun. It's like, but I'll tell you this, I told you this yesterday via text. I was like, if you want to feel mature as an adult, go to a high school football game. Because I generally feel as an adult, who dresses in a sweatshirt and athleisure and, stuff in a hat and doesn't change his clothes all the time, and I'm fairly immature as an adult. But tell you what, I felt like an old geezer yesterday at the high school football game because these parents, my God, they go absolutely berserk about everything. It's kind of comical. But yeah, if you want to feel mature, go to a freaking high school football game. The only guy I got along with there that was in the same boat, he was like 68. He sat like a bench down. He knew one of the families that stayed at the condo. It was her dad. He's never played football in his life. Didn't go to Lipscomb, but he's a rabid fan. And he yells out, literally thought the exact same thing that I thought because we ran like 3 swing passes like out of like 10. And they all had the same exact result. When all you had to do is hand it off to your freaking Mr. Football running back and gain probably 8 yards. He yells out, he goes, stop doing the swing pass. And I was like, that's my boy. It's like he said exactly what I was thinking. He just old so we can say it. And we're both old so we can say what we said. But we, in all seriousness, hope you enjoyed today's podcast. So if you're racing, hope you have an awesome weekend. Get out there, have fun, do your best. It's all about the effort and execution. And a little housekeeping, head to our website, c26triathlon.com. It's our one-stop shop for all things coaching, camps, and community. We still have our club membership going, and club membership, Club Plus plan, and also the Club Hub package. We've had some people take advantage of that this week. It is the club membership. Also includes a hub visit and 2-night stay in the townhouse. Take advantage of that now. That's going through December 15th. If you have any questions about it, obviously you can check out more info on that on the website, but you can also email Summer. She takes care of all the booking and billing for that. She's at c26operations@gmail.com. If you're interested in getting coaching for the upcoming year, you can also click on the coaches tab and peruse our incredible roster of coaches, all different flavors, same cup of coffee.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess that wraps it up, huh?
That wraps it up there, Johnny. Going to lunch?
Let's go to lunch.
Let's go. Early bird special.
Let's go to Chuck E. Cheese, man.
Let's go to Mr. Gaddy's.
Mr. Gaddy's. I don't even, Chuck E. Cheese probably isn't even around anymore.
Oh, for sure. Probably not.
I don't want to feel that young, you know?
Yeah, me either, because they would think you're a pedophile if you showed up to Chuck E. Cheese with
kids. Yeah. I guess I don't like being around that atmosphere, but I
know you don't. It's like, I'm like, wait a minute, you want to go run around be unsupervised kids? No,
I thought about going to that football game, man. I was like, I don't know, it's a lot of.
We sat way up, and like away from the student section, away from just a nice little bird's eye view, nice and quiet, just a few annoying people.
Yeah,
that's everywhere you go in life.
It's always cool though. I used to when I lived in East Nashville, I'd go to the Stratford games. Me and my buddy, we'd grill out.
East Nashville
ridiculous
games. The things we hold on to.
We're just trying to,
stay young. Trying to stay young.
Yeah, hang out.
Hopefully you weren't wearing your starter jacket, or your not your starter jacket. Your varsity letter jacket from high school. I saw some guys I went to high school with wearing their jerseys to the game, and I was like, holding on to things a little bit too long back in the day. Yeah, because we went to the state championship my senior year. We lost, but we went. We choked bad.
I kind of feel like my mom might still have my Letterman's jacket.
Oh, when I was cleaning up, when my mom moved, she was like, "Do you want to keep this stuff?" I was like, "No. Why do you have this?" Like, well, Hayden might want to see it one day. Well, I can tell him about it. Okay, that's like there's no need to keep it. Get rid of it.
That's like, it's such a weird thing, right? Because that's one of those things. It's in a box in the attic, and you're kind of up there doing some stuff, and Hayden will be, that's so cool, and then throw it back in the box and never think. It's
exactly.
Like we save things for 50 years for
30 seconds.
One reaction.
In my opinion, if you find it and didn't know you have it, it goes. Keep it simple. If you find it, didn't know you had it, gone. See you later. Bye. Just like we are. We'll see you Monday. See ya.